What if I told you that everything you might be thinking about making money on YouTube is wrong? That constant grinding out more videos, chasing sponsorships, and most of all, relying on AdSense isn't the smartest way to create financial stability. The thing is, YouTube AdSense is about as reliable as a British summer. Well, actually, British summers are reliably crap, but what if I told you there's this simple, proven system to turn your audience into direct supporters? One that's made me over $500,000, and it is using Patreon. Now, figuring out this framework did run me into the ground and nearly killed me, but this channel is about creator fulfillment, about health, about happiness, and profit. So you get the shortcut without the stress. You're welcome. Okay then, this is my 3E framework for Patreon, the most effective Patreon strategy. And it is designed for entertainment YouTubers, creators who cover topics, as opposed to just every other strategy video out there that is for educational YouTube video. It does work for education as well, absolutely. But if you're an entertainment person, you talk about music, gaming, sports, pop culture, this method will increase your income and give you stability, all while doing work you're already doing. And the best part, the third part of this framework is ridiculously easy to implement. It requires zero extra effort and it outperforms all the other monetization methods I've tried. I've been running a Patreon along with my main music reaction channel for 6 years. I have been full-time on YouTube for, well, it'll be 5 years next month. If you take just one thing from this video, it should be part 3, but more on that later. Now, before we get into the framework, who should use Patreon? Who is Patreon best for? Now, if you're a creator who covers consistent, recurring topics, Patreon can be an absolute game changer. So that means YouTubers and creators who cover music reactions and analysis like me, gaming content, reviews, industry talk, video essays, particularly film and TV breakdowns, sports, football channels, tech commentary, pop culture deep dives, and podcasts are a big one for Patreon. So basically, if you're talking about something people are passionate about and they're returning for every week, Patreon is a beautiful, beautiful way to create a business by offering your biggest fans more value. Let's talk numbers for a minute. Let's just break it down. So in my experience, we can look at about between 0.1 on the bigger end of channels, 0.5% of your audience on a slightly smaller channel will convert to patrons. That percentage can go up the more you niche down and the more loyal your audience already is. But let's just work on that 0.1 to 0.5% conversion rate. And now we're going to assume we're working at a lowest Patreon tier of $5 a month. If you support people on Patreon, chances are they have a $5 a month tier. Patreon actually recommends that as like an entry level tier. 0.1%, 0.5%, $5, that might not sound like much, but let's just break it down. Let's go to the lower end first. Say you're doing 100,000 monthly views on YouTube and at 0.1% of conversion rate, at $5 a month, that's an extra $500 a month in your bank account, in your business account. Great. At 0.5%, that is $2,500 every single month. Now we're looking at the lower end here. And also remember, the more you're niche down and the more loyal your audience is, those numbers in terms of views or downloads can be smaller and the conversion can be higher. A friend's podcast that I know, at the time they launched their Patreon, only had about 2,000 downloads a month, but almost immediately their Patreon was doing multiple thousands of dollars every single month on launch, and it's only grown since there. But let's scale it up a bit. So you're doing 1 million monthly YouTube views, which is about the size of a channel where the amount of work that you're having to put in to get that many views is knocking on the door of being full-time, if not full-time already. At a 0.1% conversion of that, we're looking at $5,000 a month monthly recurring revenue. At 0.5, we're looking at an outstanding $25,000 a month, monthly recurring revenue. Now you see what I'm talking about. Now, obviously, there are other factors involved. There's something called churn, which is the amount of people every month who cancel compared to how many people subscribe. There's things like lifetime value. These are topics for another video, but it's good to get a rough idea of what can happen even with such a small percentage of your audience. So without further ado, let's get into the 3E framework. This is something I have developed myself over many years on Patreon. First E then, extended. One of the best perks you can offer on Patreon is extended versions of your content. This is where you give your hardcore audience more of what they already love. Now, for example, on my Patreon, I offer uncut reaction videos to full-length albums with all of the music intact. On YouTube, I have to chop it up for copyright reasons, for pacing reasons, but Patreon supporters get the full unfiltered experience. If you're running a podcast, say, let's think about what someone like Jordan Peterson does. Now, whatever you think of the man is irrelevant. This is about business. So he'll release the main episode where he's interviewing somebody for free on YouTube, but offer an extra 30 minutes of discussion on a paid platform. Now, he doesn't use Patreon, has a deal with the Daily Wire, but you could do the same on Patreon. Offer extended interviews, behind the scenes footage, extra discussion segments, whatever makes sense for your format. And like everything that I speak about here, the key here is not overworking yourself. You're already creating content. This is just about giving a longer cut of what you're already making. Less stress, more value. Now that one, extended, will either resonate massively with you or not at all, depending on your content type. If you're a video essayist and everything is complete, adding more on Patreon doesn't make sense. If you're a reactor like me that chops up the content, it makes perfect sense. You already know if that first extended resonates with you. The second one though, my second E though, will be something that everybody's thinking about. And this is exclusive content. As it says on the tin, we say that based on an old advert here in the UK, content that is 100% Patreon only. And listen, I think this should be a staple of any good Patreon offer. But you have to be smart about it. Before I even get into what to do, I need you to listen to this. If you're already running at full capacity with your main channel, and I mean physically, mentally, energy-wise full capacity, try your best not to burn yourself out by trying to pump out extra content. Burnout is a real bastard. And as creators, we are fantastic at walking into it, unfortunately. And the reality is most of us will hit burnout or something akin to burnout at some point. So it's actually about mitigating it so you don't stay in a constant state of exhaustion. So instead of promising too much, think about what your fans really want that's not going to kill your energy levels to actually produce every single week. For me, I do an extra Patreon exclusive album reaction every single month. And patrons even vote on what they want to see, which keeps them engaged, keeps them excited, keeps them feeling like they're actually part of the community and driving the direction forward of the channel, which is another great way to mitigate churn. Again, that's something for another video. If you want to talk to me directly about it, there's links down in the description for that. But it is extra value for them and it doesn't break my back to produce. It's significant work, but it's not killing me. In the past though, I got overexcited. And I think a lot of people do this on Patreon. I tried to fill multiple buckets for my patrons. I figured the more I give, the more people will sign up, right? Well, maybe, but not necessarily. But what did happen to me is burnout. And also what happened to me is not being able to keep up with the promises that I made to the paying customers. That relentless content promise, along with a furious upload schedule on the main channel, it turned everything very dark indeed. And I'm not just talking about YouTube dark mode, okay? So pick something. One type of content that you can deliver without adding much to your workload. Maybe it's a bonus podcast episode, an AMA stream with your audience directly on Patreon. You can do that, by the way. Or a behind-the-scenes vlog. It doesn't have to be massive. That's what he said. Just something your hardcore fans will appreciate. This one's essential for a good Patreon, but just please be careful with it, please. All right, here's the one I was talking about. Here's the one I promised, and this is the best discovery that I've found on Patreon. It is early access, the third E, early access. This is the most powerful and profitable Patreon perk, and it is also the easiest to implement. Early access is exactly what it sounds like. It's letting patrons see your videos before they go live on YouTube or listening to your podcast before it goes live on your podcast feed. And here's the thing, nobody loses. You're already making the video, the content. All you do is upload it a little earlier for patrons. Zero extra work. I'll give you an example recently from me. The Weeknd, one of the biggest artists that I cover on my main channel, just released his new album called Hurry Up Tomorrow. We did a reaction. As always, it was highly anticipated by my audience. And as soon as the video was edited around 1 p.m. UK time, I posted it on Patreon. I then posted about this on my community wall, more on that later, and on social media. And it led to a lot of people signing up just to watch early. Now, this was at the $5 tier. But just doing this, I released the video itself about 8 p.m, I believe, on YouTube for everybody. So that sort of 7-hour period where it was just available in early access for Patreon brought in around $2,500 in monthly recurring revenue. Now, some of those people have churned off because they only came in for the Weeknd video and then they decided to cancel straight away, and that's totally understandable. But a lot of people have stayed. So it's not just about making some cash on a single video. This is potentially monthly recurring revenue from an audience that was happy and excited to see the best version of my video, because it is the uncut version, extended, as we spoke about, and it has a period of exclusivity because it is early access. So I'm hitting 2 of the 3 E's with this piece of content, and look what can happen. Now, that video made no money on YouTube because my videos don't make revenue because they have copyrighted music in there, which is actually the constraint on my channel which led me down the path of Patreon and to learn all of this stuff that I'm sharing with you now. But even if your videos do make money on AdSense, and I hope that they do, I still implore you to look into starting a Patreon and following this framework, because I believe that creators should be doing this to make more money in a less stressful way, in a way that's also a handshake with the audience. The percentage of audience that wants to sign up for your Patreon and does sign up is happy to be there. And I know this because I'm a member of about 10 or 11 patrons of other creators. When I see a creator that I like and I enjoy their content and they have a Patreon, they have something extra to offer, I will always sign up to it. I love doing it. It makes me feel good. It makes me feel connected, and I get more good shit to watch. Also, putting this out early access for Patreon didn't affect the YouTube video's views. It's already closing. I think it might have crossed 350,000 in just over a week, but also it's made a significant difference to my business. So the beauty of early access is that a percentage of your audience will pay for it. But here we're going to segue out of the framework slightly because we need to actually get people to sign up to our Patreon. Now, I mentioned one of the best ways to do this briefly already, but let's talk about it specifically. How do you actually get people to sign up? Now, I'm going for YouTubers here. This is a very simple thing. It's the Patreon community wall funnel. It is your secret weapon for turning viewers into patrons. The YouTube community wall, I think it's just called posts now as of last week, is the best place to drive conversions because it reaches your most engaged subscribers. So every time you upload an early access or an exclusive version to Patreon or extended or whatever else, make a compelling community post with a clear call to action. Tell them what they're missing. Provide a direct link, of course, which you can do that in the community wall in the first sentence so it's above the fold, and highlight the benefits of signing up. On the early access ones that I put out, I'm actually very clear. I put a pinned comment below saying, this will come out on YouTube in a few hours. But if you would like to see the best version right now and support the channel, then the Patreon's there for you. I did that with the weekend video I was just talking about. Complete openness and transparency, and still had that turnaround in revenue. But don't just stop at the community wall. That is the most powerful conversion. You might think talking about it on the videos is a more powerful conversion. I have found that it's not. People who click on the video don't necessarily want to stop, click on your link in the description and go to Patreon. Then they're in watching your shit mode. But when they're scrolling through something and they see that pop up in their community feed, they go, shit, I want to watch that now. I don't want to watch the videos that are being offered to me. I want to watch that right now. This is the moment to sign up. But of course, you're going to want to mention it in your videos. You're going to want to have your link in the description clear. Above the fold, don't put all loads of text. You don't need any of that stuff. You don't need keywords. You don't need tags. You don't need hashtags. That link will not kill your video at all, I promise you. Make sure it's right there at the top, above the fold. Social media, tweet about it, TikTok about it, LinkedIn, Instagram stories, post it in your Discord if you haven't, of course. Tell people about it as much as possible. Don't be afraid. Be open and honest and use a story that makes sense. One of the reasons I was able to grow Patreon is I could tell the story that my videos that you like to watch don't make money. Look, I can show you on my back end, pause, that all of the revenue is crossed out. So in order to keep doing this, I have to have a Patreon. So that's a great angle. Say you're doing video essays and you're only able to produce one video a month, say, but it is super high quality. Even if those videos are doing 100, 200,000 views per video, that is not enough through Google AdSense to make it full time. Tell that story to your audience and give them something for signing up. Some people have made the mistake on Patreon of just saying, oh, I have a Patreon if you want to support. People need something in return. They want something. They want the feeling of being able to support, but that's not enough. There needs to be a handshake. Combine all of these elements and that creates a Patreon funnel for you, where your audience repeatedly sees the value of Patreon and it increases their likelihood of converting. They may need multiple touchstones before they convert, but that is fine. And early access works, as do the others, but only if your audience knows about it. So there it is, the 3E framework. This is the most powerful framework that I've discovered in over 5 years and over $500,000 on Patreon. There are other things as well. There's stuff that I'm less keen on a parasocial thing where you have an extremely high tier that only a certain percentage of people will do. I mean, you can kind of call that the OnlyFans model, I guess, which operates in the same way. I'm not so keen on doing that unless the offer at the high tier is something super valuable like mentorship or something along those lines. You don't want to create a parasocial imbalance, but extended content for hardcore fans, exclusive content that makes your Patreon feel like a VIP club, and an actually good one, not one of those shit ones that has the little rope and they play terrible music. And of course, early access, the easiest and most profitable Patreon move. Also, make sure you're signed up to the email list because I'm going to have something coming through there as well. And of course, you're getting these insights multiple times a week on the full-time creator email. So if you sign up now, it's actually crazy the value that you're going to be getting in the full-time creator email multiple times a week. All my insights, I'm fucking insane. All I do is study human psychology, these platforms. I'm a fucking madman. And I'm just sharing it with you, okay? Because I love to share it. It is a huge part of my personality to teach. That's why I do it. This is why I'm doing this channel. This is me. But quickly, in the meantime, though, if this has resonated, go set up your Patreon, implement this framework, and start turning your audience into your direct supporters. And if you got value from this, you know what to do. Simple YouTube stuff. Just drop a like on a video. Likes, by the way, super overpowered on YouTube at the moment. That's another topic for another time. Hit subscribe and let me know in the comments how you're monetizing your channel, any struggles that you're having with your channel at the moment. And guys, I'll see you out there.